I am not a master. Everybody should know that. I am just a dude who does some plans examination, and I've done some Photoshop, which is pretty similar to this program. So I understand kind of the way it's laid out. So along here, you have ways to deal with your files for the most part. Over here, we have tools. You can move any of these things to wherever you'd like, by the way. But anyway, um, I don't use all of these. I barely use any. I like thumbnails. That gives you a thumbnail of each page. They can be resized by sliding this left and right. You can kind of bring this out a little bit if you want them bigger, if you need to see them a little better. That helps me if I need, whatever's on page 6, I can jump back and forth. You can click and drag any of these and move them up or down, and that will reorder the pages and reorient them in the set. If for some reason, I don't know. Sometimes a lot of these guys will skip. They'll put the first floor on page 7, and then they skip the page for whatever reason and put the second floor on page 8, and it drives me nuts when I'm out in the field looking at plans. Um, and then the rest of this stuff, honestly, I don't use a whole lot. Toolbox, we will get to. So I'm going to leave that on Toolbox. Um, my next thing I really like is the split screen down here. If you click on the split screen, you can split it horizontal. Um, and we'll go back to thumbnails. So depending on which page you click on, either right or left here, when you click on this one, you're now going to operate this one. So you can click and change the page on this one, and it stays on page 1 here. That's really nice because you can go down here to page whatever and look at this detail that is noted on this page. You could reorganize these in any direction you'd want. You can zoom in and out by scrolling your scroll wheel on your mouse if you have one, or control minus or plus will zoom either one of these out. This is a really nice trick when you have calc packages. For me, I like having my calcs open on one side and my beams open on another. So I like to highlight my beams as I go. So then when I'm out doing the walkthrough, I've got a little highlight on beams that I know have been calced, and I can look to make sure they're the right size beam. Um, so let's see, zoom in and out. Each one of these, let's bring this back over here and let's do this. So now we're just back to our regular set. So each one of these, sometimes I don't really understand why it does this, but sometimes when you open a file, you open a plan set, for whatever reason, if you do have a track wheel on your mouse and you zoom in and out, it zooms in and out. Sometimes it changes the pages. It just is how it opens. I don't really know why. But if you were to click continuous page, that will make it so you can then scroll through the document. So I generally like single page because I like to zoom in and out a lot because I'm hard to see details. I'm not don't do well with tight shots. And then once you are in there, I like keyboard shortcuts. So if you hover over any of these, it says Toolbox T. So that means basically just tap a T and it'll drop a text box. And I think I said toolbox. I meant text box. H for highlighter. You can highlight stuff, and if you hold down the shift while you do it, it'll do it in a either straight, horizontal, or vertical line, which is real nice. And then if for some reason, click back on our little hand. If for some reason, let's say you wanted to highlight this, let's see, let's get rid of that guy, and that guy, and that guy. Let's say you wanted to highlight these beams, right? So we can click H and then shift like that, but it won't do a diagonal. So what you can do is a vertical, and then you go back to your little hand and click it, and then up here on this little guy up on top, this little circle, which here, let me move it over here so we can see a little better. This little circle here, if you click on that, you can turn it. Oops, oops, oh, sorry. That was a little. slip of the finger there. There, and you can turn it, and then you can click and drag it over onto your beam and use your arrows if you want to get it real nice and pretty. The other thing you can do, of course, is when you do have a highlighter, you can set up any tool you want to be a default type of tool. So this is my default highlighter. I like the yellow, typical plain old highlighter, right? But let's say you really like orange. So you go here and you click it orange, okay? And you use the highlighter, and then you revert back to this tool, to whatever, anything else, and you click your highlighter, and doggone it, it's yellow again. So go to orange. I think it was the other orange, but pick your color, whatever color you like, whatever thickness you like, whatever opacity you like. Lowering the opacity makes it so you can see through it. Get it how you like, and then set it as default. If you click that, now every time you click on a highlighter, you're going to have that highlighter, okay? So, but I don't like that highlighter. I like the yellow highlighter, so I'm going back to yellow. Forgive me. I'm a man of whatever. I like things the way I like them. So, and then any of these you do, you can click these. Control Z. If you make a mistake, Control Z will undo whatever the last thing is you just did. And then, so my favorite shortcut is not on here, excuse me, keyboard shortcut, but I'll tell you. So this is something that I really like. So let's see. Let's see, you have shear inspection, an exterior shear inspection. Or, well, you're going to have shear. So you're doing as a plans examiner, right? So we go G, and I don't know what G stands for. Grab? I don't know. G will open up this little tool, and you get it where you want it. Click and drag over this, over any part of the plan, and let go. Okay? Now that's all you've done. Now you're going to change pages to your shear page, and make sure you go back to your little hand. And now you're on a different page, and you're back. Now what that's done is save that little portion of the screen on the clipboard. So if you Control V, you can now drop the shear schedule onto any page you want as many times as you want, and you can shrink it down a little bit to fit. The reason, of course, I like to do this is because when you're out in the field and it's pouring down rain, and you have one of those architects that likes to write shear as, like, instead of, S for 6 and 12 and B for 4 and 12, they like to do it, I don't know, S1 or something. We've all seen those weirdos that do it weird ways. So that's a really nice thing you can do. And once you've dropped it on there, it's just there, it's printed out, it's just beautiful. So this is not quite as clear because this is a scanned copy of plans. If it were digital, which I don't happen to have a digital set of plans that has shear on it, but if it were digital, you could zoom in on it. It's an exact replica of the original shear. Then the last thing I like to do is, if I'm working on something and I need a geotech or I need more information for whatever reason, I will go to my desktop, and I will right click, and I'll create a new folder, and I will call that folder the permit number. And then when you're in here, once you've done as much as you can do, but you're waiting on it, you're going to save it as, you're going to go to desktop, you're going to find that folder, double click, and then I will call it the permit number 9 working set. And then that is in that folder on your desktop a month from now when that guy gets you that geotech, and there's your working set, and it's open. Okay, so that's video 1, and we'll come back with a couple more things on tools. All right.